Thank you for tuning in to the Gardeners Corner program, a Friday feature here on TV Channel 10, located on Charter Communications Channel 191. My name is Rob Hall, and you can also hear us on WKRX 96.7 FM and WRXO 1430 AM. The Gardeners Corner program brought to you today by T.G. Brooks Company and South Boston Memorials. We do appreciate their support, and if you ever have the opportunity to send some business their way, please pass a word of thanks along to them for sponsoring the Gardeners Corner program. Without further ado, please make welcome all the way from the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, a man that gets up in the morning and says,
"Oh no."
He says, let me look at the calendar. I'm retiring June 30th, and today is June 10th, so that means only 20 days until I retire. And then he starts saying, I love this life, and it just goes on from there.
And my days are numbered.
Please make welcome Mr. Carl Catalupi.
That actually sounds like a siren we had in our town as a kid. After they quit running it, you heard it all go down real low until it stopped.
Isn't it amazing how some things just remind you of fond memories of your childhood?
That's right.
We are live in the studio today, 336-599-0266. That's 336-599-0266. If you got a question for Carl, feel free to give us a call, and we'll put his knowledge to the test. And we'll make mention of this. We will be on the radio next week, but we will not be on TV because we're taking the show on the road again next week.
That's right.
We're going to be broadcasting the Gardeners Corner program from the Central Carolina District Junior Dairy Show that's going to be taking place at the Central Carolina Holstein Barn up on Orange Grove Road in Hillsboro. It's right there close by the Orange Grove Fire Department. We'll be broadcasting live before and after and doing the Gardeners Corner program. And anyway, they'll have Holstein, Jersey, and Brown Swiss dairy cows. They may have a Guernsey or two up there. I'm not real sure, but it's always a nice event. And I don't think Carl has ever attended the dairy show, but it's a gentleman up there that plays the harmonica, and in the years past I've had him to play a little tune on the radio. And Carl's going to bring his clarinet.
That's right.
We're going to be continuing with business that day there at the dairy show, but we're just going to be kind of doing it in a fun way. And we won't be able to take your calls next week, but we'll tell you how you can get a question to us for Carl to answer should you have one. So looking forward to that, and I believe it'll be a lot of fun. And anyway, we're going to be talking about grapes. We'll be talking about tomatoes. We'll be talking about bagworms. But if you've got a question or something, you give us a call and ask the question. We'll talk about whatever your question may be related to. 336-599-0266.
Okay, let's lead off with a fungus disease that is very common on grapes and is starting to actually show up right now. If you have bunch grapes, anthracnose is a fungus disease, and you can see what it looks like on the fruit in the picture. It's a lot of times it's also called bird's eye rot, because that's exactly what the lesion looks like, a bird's eye. And here it is as the as the lesion gets bigger and causes the grape to dry out. So this is anthracnose. If you look on the stem, these are the spots that appear on the stem, and then also the symptoms on the leaf. best way to control anthracnose is to spray with a dormant spray of liquid lime sulfur. So it's too late to do that now. So anytime when the grape is dormant, liquid lime sulfur will coat the twigs and then prevent and then kill the fungus spores as as they sporulate. Another one to be on the lookout for now pretty soon is black rot of grape, and this is how the black rot gets started on the grape leaves. They're brown spots, and if you look very close at the margin of these spots, they'll have little black dots that form in the circle. These actually are the structures that hold the spores. So the spores are released from these black pepper-like spots, and then they go on to the grape itself and start shriveling up the grape. This is primarily done on bunch grapes. So you can see the shriveling start, and then in this cluster you'll see grapes that are okay, mixed in with shriveled up grapes that look like raisins, but they're very hard. And this is the black rot organism. In order to control black rot, you have to remain on a strict fungicide spray schedule. You can use Captan, C-A-P-T-A-N, as a fungicide to control it. But once you see the disease, it's too late to do anything about it. That's why preventive control is needed. So that's black rot of grape. Now that tomatoes are planted in the garden and growing really well, with all this rain that we've had and the high humidities, it won't be much longer before we start to see leaf spot fungus diseases on tomato. This is the early blight fungus, and early blight is easily characterized by the spots, the kind of spots it makes on the leaves. They look like bullseye markings on the leaf, and the black rings are again the spores of the fungus that will release from these spots and start to infect the leaves that are located on the upper part of the plant. It starts on the low part and then gradually builds up to the top. Here's another shot of early blight, and you can see that characteristic bullseye marking. Another one that we get every year is Septoria leaf spot, and you can see the spots are much smaller, and they can be larger, but the difference is that they don't have that characteristic bullseye marking. But this is a very destructive fungus disease, and it usually comes in after we have a period of heavy rains. So I think we'll see more of this as we go along. This was a shot actually taken last year of some tomato plants that we have planted in old tires at a location in Oxford, and after a rain, Septoria just went through, and you can see what the fungus did. Control is good with either Daconil, D-A-C-O-N-I-L, sprayed with that, and then about in 10 days or so, alternate with Mancozeb, M-A-N-C-O-Z-E-B, and so it's the alternation of fungicides throughout the season that is really needed to get good control. Because once you have it, again, there's not much you can do about it, because the fungus spore lands on the leaf and it has to penetrate, and then it penetrates inside the leaf. And once that happens, no fungicide is going to work. The fungicide has to be applied as a barrier so that when the spore lands on the leaf, it gets killed before the fungus spore can move inside and do its damage.
Well, Carl, would it be a good time that I could insert my saying?
Yeah.
And that saying is, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Cure, that's right. Uh-huh.
Well, Carl, in which the thing about it, and I think it's one of those things that we all would love to be able to plant a garden and go back at harvest time and have a bountiful harvest.
Right.
But it just doesn't work that way. You got to be diligent on keep an eye on what's going on, and you got to be mindful of the things that could happen and you need to try to prevent them.
Yeah.
And Carl, one thing you was talking about last week about how the Department of Agriculture has gotten into where they kind of have forecast days to where they could tell that
Oh,
a lot of the would you say fungus and things could be moving into different areas and things like that.
that's right. Yeah, it's the downy mildew forecasting service that originates in the southern states, down as far south as Florida, and this service can actually anticipate or chart the what we call the spore trajectory of the fungus. It's very important. Downy mildew can be very destructive on cucumbers, especially people that grow them for pickling. And you really need to stay ahead of the fungus, and you have to spray before the disease hits your area. And that's an excellent service, free service that is available to growers for the downy mildew forecast. And they can also do it for for other fungi as well. But the thing to remember is always use fungicides preventatively, and that's the only way you're going to be able to get good control, and you have to keep it up throughout the season. A lot of times people say, well, that's nice and all, that's that's ideal, but if I'm going to use a fungicide on tomatoes, for example, it says on the label, wait 4 or 5 days before you pick the fruit. And the person says, well, I can't wait that long, because if there's red fruit on there, they'll be rotten before the waiting time is out. And this is what leads to knowing when to properly pick a tomato. You don't have to leave it become red ripe on the vine, because sunlight does not influence tomato ripening principally. It's the release of ethylene that occurs in all ripening fruits and vegetables. When the fruit starts to ripen, it gives off ethylene, and this is what causes the color change. So when you first start to notice a color change in tomatoes, pick the fruit at that time, and it will ripen up. The release of ethylene will be just as much off of the plant than it is on the plant. So you can very, very easily ripen tomatoes inside the house, put them in a paper bag, close the top so you concentrate the ethylene vapors inside that bag. This stimulates quick ripening. And if you want to, you can put a banana in the bag with the tomatoes. The ethylene that is released by the banana will trigger the ethylene to be released by the tomato. So this is one way to enhance rapid ripening. Remember, the place not to put a tomato is in the refrigerator, because that makes the fruits get chilling injury. You have various pittings on the fruit because of that. So never refrigerate a tomato unless it is red ripe and almost to the point of
Going bad.
Then okay. But generally, if you refrigerate a tomato that's in the mature green stage or the pink stage, first of all, you predispose it to chilling injury, and another thing you do, you just destroy the flavor of that tomato.
Well, I think it's a misconception when people may see tomatoes in the more or less refrigerated section of the produce department.
Mm-hmm.
But now, just bear in mind those types of cooling units that they use for the produce does not keep everything as ice cold as it would in a refrigerator.
Right.
One thing that Carl has taught us over the years, that a lot of time when you harvest fruit and vegetables, if you can get them into a cool area to get the field heat out of them,
that's right.
That helps out. But you don't want to, as Carl said, you don't want to put tomatoes in a refrigerator that's maybe 38 to 40 degrees.
Right. Now, some vegetables, they like a cold storage temperature. Sweet corn, for example, is a warm season vegetable, but it likes cold storage temperatures. So the sooner you get, if you pick fresh sweet corn in the morning, when it's not hot, get it into the refrigerator right away. It will last the longest if you refrigerate it right away. Also, for long-term storage, remove the husks off of the ear of sweet corn, because the husk serves to pull moisture out of the kernels. So remember that. Let's see, do we?
We do.
Okay.
We do. All right, we've got a caller. Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Well, thank you, and I would like to tell Mr. Cantalupi that I have enjoyed his programs every Friday and wish him luck in his retirement.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's very nice and kind of
Yes.
you to do that.
You bet.
I'm going to switch gears and go over to flowers.
Mm-hmm.
When do you cut the stalk or the stem of irises after they bloom, or do you just let them stay on there?
You can cut them back after they bloom, especially if you want to transplant them. If you want to transplant them, that's the best time to do it. But if you don't want to transplant them, there's really no need to cut the tops back. You can just let them be, and sometimes they get fungus disease known as iris leaf spot. You can control that with a fungicide if that's a problem, Daconil. Other times we get what is called the iris borer that might be a pest. It actually bores into the rhizomes of the iris and then can cause problems. If you've had problem with those in the past, you can treat those with an insecticide like Sevin. But generally, there's really no need to cut the irises back if you're not going to transplant them.
And they will continue to make more bulbs if I
Yes.
don't cut it back.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you so much, and good luck on your retirement.
Thank you again.
Hey, thank you for the call. Appreciate that a bunch. That was very nice.
That
call.
was.
And yeah, I've had several people say something to me about you retiring and things like that, and I said, well, Carl's planning on retiring the 30th of this month. I said, but I hadn't more or less signed the paper saying that he could, leave. So I said, I hope he don't get his hopes up too big. But just picking at you, and again, we're really excited for you. We sure are. Again, we are live in the studio, 336-599-0266. That's 336-599-0266. We're going to get a word on for one of our fine supporting sponsors. We'll take a trip over to South Boston, and we'll stop in at South Boston Memorials. They're located over on Seymour Drive. They are a family-owned business, and they are nice people there at South Boston Memorials.
South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston, Virginia. They offer granite markers, monuments, and mausoleums. For more information, visit the website SoboMemorials.com or call 434-572-3859. South Boston Memorials have been in business and family-owned since 1958. In-house laser etching is available at South Boston Memorials. They have over 300 granite memorials in stock. For all of your granite markers, monuments, and mausoleums, stop in and see them right there at South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston, Virginia, or call them at 434-572-3859 and visit the website SoboMemorials.com. That's South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston.
Alrighty, here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. We had a little brief delay right there, and we've got a caller.
All right.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Good morning. I got a question, but I did want to congratulate Mr. Carl Cantalupi on his retirement.
Thank you.
Can say that I've been out in the community, different places, and people are they're excited for you, but they're going to miss you.
I know. There's been a lot. I mean, I've had probably about 30 emails
wow.
the past week. Yeah, to send their.
Well, I just had a comment yesterday morning on the Farmer's Almanac talking about black tomatoes. Is that something that's grown around here?
It's probably one of the heirloom types.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a specialty type tomato that would fall into the heirloom category. I'm not familiar with the specific variety, but yeah, there are some that really have that color.
Okay, I just had never seen them before, but I was not looking for looking for them. I just thought it was interesting the way that the Farmer's Almanac had talked about it.
Right.
Okay, thank you so much. I really enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
Have
again.
a good day, and we appreciate your call. She was making reference. Weekday mornings we carry a program at 6:15, and it's the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report.
Oh, okay.
And they talk about
All right.
Old folklore, and they talk about the weather and just different things, and it's pretty interesting. And when you make mention of the heirloom tomato varieties, tomatoes over the year, they have been more or less developed to where they have beautiful colors and beautiful shapes. And some of the heirloom tomatoes, they look sometimes not so attractive, but
Right.
they can be kind of a mixture of colors. But a lot of people that is in to organic gardening and in traditional gardening, a lot of people like the heirloom tomatoes. And Carl, would you clarify to me and maybe some of our listeners that is not aware, but the heirloom tomato, it's seeds that has been saved from years and years and years ago, correct?
Right. They're called open pollinated types. Open pollinated types are not hybrids, so you can save the seed from a open pollinated tomato and then replant it the following year, and you will get the same tomato. You cannot do that if it's a hybrid variety, because a hybrid results from a cross of two parental types that are selected maybe for large fruit size and disease resistance. And when these two parental types are crossed, the first generation, called the F1 generation, is a hybrid because it contains both the characteristics of the parent plants. So if you save the seed from an F1 hybrid, it will revert back to the parent types, and so you will not get that same fruit. It will not be true to type. So hybrid seeds cannot be saved. They can only be gotten by doing manual crosses, and I actually did that one summer. I worked for Burpee's Fort Hook Farms in right across the street from where I went to college in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and worked with a plant breeder and got to work with cantaloupes and squash, and of course on those crops you have separate male and female flowers on the same plant. So one day we would go out and put these cardboard collars around the female flowers to keep them closed. Then when the male flowers opened up and released pollen, we went to the female flowers, took off the cardboard collars, and then just used a camel hair paintbrush, dabbed some of the pollen off the male flower part, and then dabbed it on the female flower part.
Wow.
Put a kind of the material is called glassine. It's kind of like a cellophane bag. We put on the female flower after it's been pollinated. So what that does, it keeps out stray bees from getting in there
And cross-pollinating.
cross-pollinating, right.
Wow.
And then after a number of days, this bag just disintegrates once the fruit is formed inside. This is why hybrid seed is more expensive than open pollinated types, because this tedious work has to be done every year.
Wow. Well, you know, Carl, when you were talking about that, I got to thinking about seedless watermelons.
That's right.
And I'm sure a lot of people is already planting watermelons,
Yeah.
and people may be planning on putting some in the ground this weekend. But if you would explain again about when you order or go to the local feed and garden supply center to pick up seeds, and if you buy some seedless watermelon seeds in the little packs, about how it is one of the seeds in there will be a seeded watermelon.
One or more. Yeah, seedless watermelons have really gained popularity over the past several years. And the way they obtain a seedless watermelon is that watermelons have different chromosome numbers. Chromosomes are on genes, and the chromosomes, just like human chromosomes, they have characteristics for traits. And so when they breed a seedless watermelon, they'll start with a watermelon that has what we call the 2X chromosome number, and then we cross that with a 2X is called a diploid, di meaning two. A diploid or 2X watermelon is crossed with a tetraploid, which is 4X chromosome count. So a 2X, when a 2X is crossed with a 4X, the resulting offspring is a 3X called a triploid. And that plant is sterile, kind of like a mule, you might say.
Right.
And so once that cross is made, the seed is obtained. And then, when you plant that seed, the resulting fruits will all be seedless. So the next question is then, okay, how do you you still need a pollinator to pollinate those seedless types in order to get the fruit. So generally, as Rob was saying before, generally what's included in the same seed pack is a standard watermelon variety that has both male and female reproductive structures. So the male pollen will cross-pollinate with the seedless variety, but that's all it does is serve as a pollen parent. The fruit will remain seedless, but then that brings up another problem. If you're using a normally seeded watermelon and crossing it with the seedless, if both of those fruits look the same, how are you going to tell which are seeded and which are seedless? So the easiest thing to do is to sow a seeded variety that looks nothing like the seedless type. And so then definitely when they mature, you can definitely see the difference, and you'll know which are seeded and which are seedless.
So what you're saying is, if you're planting a seedless variety of watermelons, and then you want to plant a different variety of watermelons,
seeded variety to serve as the pollen parent,
you need to get, as you say, one. A lot of the seedless watermelons are round,
small
so to speak,
icebox types.
Yeah, and they kind of are a little bit larger than the sugar baby watermelons, is what a lot of people used to call them.
Yeah.
But, they make many different varieties of watermelons.
You might want to plant, an old-time standard Charleston Gray, maybe, which is long and oblong, so you've got no problem seeing, the difference between the two.
And, and unless you're selling these, watermelons and things, it really doesn't matter if it's seeded or not. And although, when they say a seedless watermelon, it's going to still have some small seeds in it.
Yeah, traces. You might have some white, or we call ghost seed, in there.
And I'm sure it has been someone that has saved those seeds out of a seedless watermelon and try
Tried 'em,
plan,
yeah.
plan them next year. Well,
No.
that doesn't work too good, does it?
No, will not work, unfortunately.
So, but we are live in the studio today, 336-599-0266. That's 336-599-0266.
I was just thinking, while we're on that subject of plant breeding, we can talk about sweet corn too. Over the years, we've had different types of sweet corn that have been developed. We have the standard sugary type, such as your Silver Queen. We have what we call the sugary enhanced types, or the SE types, that are sweeter. And then we have the ultimate, called the super sweet types. And the SE types, sugary enhanced, can be planted at the same time, or they can be planted to mature at the same time as the ordinary sugary types, and they will not cross-pollinate, and you will not get, sweet and starchy kernels on the same ear. But if you plant the super sweet types along with a standard sugary type, and they cross-pollinate, you will get a mixture of starchy and sweet kernels in the same corn. So you definitely have to wait to plant the two different types of corn, so you know that you won't get the crossing. You can, do the staggering your planting based on the stage of the plant, the stage of development of the plant. Wait until the sweet corn of one variety gets up to 2 to 3 inches tall, then go ahead and make your other seeding of the other variety. And don't do it, on the calendar method. Don't separate them by a week apart, because they might come in at the same time at the end. But for the most part, in stores and at farmers markets, you do generally now see the super sweet types more and more. And you can definitely taste the difference. It has a crunchier texture to the kernel, and the super sweets will actually store longer in the refrigerator than the ordinary regular type sweet corns will. So they've really gotten a tremendous foothold in the marketplace, and many people do prefer these sweeter, crunchier corns.
Well, I know over the last several years or so, the prices of seed corn has became really expensive. And it's a lot of more or less research and things that goes into developing these different types of sweet corn. Speaking of, you made mention of the farmers market a little bit ago. We'd like to pass along to you that the Person County Farmers Market is open on Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. until noon, and then Wednesday afternoons, 3 until 6 o'clock. Well, tomorrow at the Person County Farmers Market, that is located right between Wells Fargo Bank and American Hero, right there at the group home building. It's a metal structure, and just right across from the Person County Farmers Market is the Cookout Restaurant. So since we pretty much laid it out on the map, we'll let you know you should go by tomorrow. Miss Margaret McMahon of the Person County Tourism Development Authority is going to be on hand, and Margaret is going to be fixing up some different things for things that are available there at the Farmers Market. But again, that's the Person County Farmers Market, open Saturdays 8 a.m. until noon, and then Wednesday afternoons 3 until 6. Also, we'll make mention of the Roxborough Farmers Market down on Depot Street. I know it was someone there set up last week, and it's squash and cucumbers and onions and maybe some potatoes and everything already pretty much in season.
Right.
So in just a minute, we'll get a word on for T.G. Brooks Company, one of our fine sponsors. We appreciate what they do for us here at the radio station, but we really appreciate what they do for the community and surrounding areas. So right now we'll take a trip over to T.G. Brooks Company and stop in and see what Bill and Roy has going on at T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake.
What a terrific spring we had this year. Now, June and then July are the months when we start to see the fruits of our spring labor in our yards and gardens. The planting season has been a good one, and you still have time to plant vegetables and flowers for a summer of beauty. And when the gardens come in, T.G. Brooks Company has canning jars in half pints, quarts, half gallons, plus pressure cookers, pressure canners, bath canners, strainers, funnels, and most other canning supplies. T.G. Brooks also has wide open lawn and garden time going on. T.G. Brooks Company has plenty of tomato plants, lots of them, many varieties. They have vegetable plants of all kinds, garden seed, and flowers all ready to plant. T.G. Brooks Company has irrigation supplies, too. Water hoses, nozzles, sprinklers, and all that you need during the drier weeks. Reseed your lawn with clean, fresh seed, and they have the fertilizer and lime. They have the sprayers, both tank and backpack. And if you need mulch, they stock it in abundance, even the triple ground mulch. T.G. Brooks has your insecticides for vegetables and fungicides. They have chemicals for your grass protection and bug protections, too, for home pest control. In fact, all your garden and chemical needs are at one spot. No matter if you are a homeowner or a commercial landscaper, T.G. Brooks handles everybody with the same courteous service. They can arrange delivery, or you can pull up with your pickup truck, trailer. They'll load it up for you. The bagged products, they'll load it up for you in your car or van. When the day is done, nothing tops it off like a hand-cut ribeye, cooked to your desired level on your grill. Make your way over to 411 Helena Maria Road in Timberlake. Phone them at 364-2428. As always, T.G. Brooks Company has proudly served the homeowner, the farmer, and those folks in construction since way back in 1936. They welcome folks from all over Person County, Rougemont, Northern Durham, and of course, Southern Person County.
Here we are back on the Gardeners Corner program. My name is Rob Hall, Mr. Carl Cantalupi, our resident expert of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service. Carl, here it is. June. Is that a good time to start fertilizing Bermuda grasses?
Good point, Rob. Yes, now is the time to start Bermuda grass fertilization, the month of June. Generally, what Bermuda grass lawns like is 1 pound of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet for bluegrass or zoysia. And when we say 1 pound of actual nitrogen, if we're using a 10-10-10 fertilizer, for example, you divide the first number on the fertilizer bag into 100 for the percent nitrogen that you have. So 10% nitrogen, 10 into 100 goes 10 times. So that means you need to apply 10 pounds of a 10-10-10 fertilizer per 1,000 square feet. That will equal 1 pound of actual nitrogen. And warm season grasses like to be fertilized during the hot summer months because that's when they make their most growth. So generally, once a month during June, July, and August is the best time to fertilize Bermuda grass or zoysia lawns. And if you want to give them 1 pound of actual nitrogen at every feeding, this is good. So a good, very good point, Rob.
Well, Carl, now, suppose someone's got some cool season fescue planted, and they're seeing maybe some spots in the yard that kind of looks like some are not quite as dark green as others. Is it a good idea to go out where those yellow spots are at and put down a lot of nitrogen?
No, definitely not, because what you may be seeing, and we'll probably have to wait until it gets hot and dry in order to start to see the symptoms of brown patch fungus disease. So to all the folks that have diligently fertilized their lawn with a cool season lawns with a lot of nitrogen in the spring, unfortunately, this is what you're going to have to look forward to. once it gets hot and dry. The brown patch fungus is aggravated by excessive nitrogen applications in the spring. So once it gets hot and dry, the very soft and succulent grass blades are more susceptible to picking up the brown patch fungus. And this is one slide to show you how it starts out as, and this is how it can progress. And you can see the spots get bigger and bigger until finally they just overtake the lawn. So if you have brown patch fungus disease, if you see the symptoms, unfortunately, again, with most fungus diseases, as far as controlling them, control is preventive in nature. There are fungicides that you can use to control brown patch, but they're very expensive, and I really don't think it's worth the money to use it as a preventive. The easiest thing you have at your disposal is don't fertilize with nitrogen in the spring. You might not have the greenest looking lawn in the spring, but you won't get death of your grass plants in the heat of the summer. The best time to fertilize cool season grasses is in the fall, in September, October, when the days are getting shorter and cooler, and the grass plants are starting to kind of shut down or slow down for winter. The plants take the nitrogen and they store it in the root system to use for the following year's growth. So you don't produce a top-heavy plant if you fertilize in the fall. Most of the bang for your fertilizer dollar is going to go into the root system. So remember that when we fertilize cool season grasses, definitely not done in the spring.
Well, Carl, even though people hear you, preaching that, so to speak, a lot of them don't believe it. And it is possible that you could, go real heavy with a fertilizer and not have a problem.
Yeah, that's it.
And you maybe could do that several years, but it's going to come one year that you're going to run out of luck.
That's right.
So do yourself a favor and try to avoid as many heartaches and headaches as you can. And if you have cool season grasses, do your fertilization and everything, fertilizing in the fall time of the year. And then when springtime rolls around, you can just do some kind of cleanup and things like that. Also, one good thing maybe people should be making themselves aware of over June, July, and August, when they're out mowing the lawn, they can kind of do a survey of the amount of weeds that they have in the lawn,
right,
versus the amount of grass. And so then by the time August runs around, you will say, well, I think I need to do a landscaping project here and plant new grass. So just kind of be mindful of when you're out in the lawn, just look around and do a just kind of a idea, get a general idea of what percentage grass you have versus weeds, and you might be quite surprised.
Right.
Now, Carl, I think you said you wanted to talk about the artillery fungus.
Yeah, we can. Let's see if this. Well, I think we got a call.
I think we
All
do
right.
too. We got one online. Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Yes, good morning. What is the best time to reseed a yard?
With cool season grasses like fescue or bluegrass in the fall, usually early to mid-September is the best time.
Okay, thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Have a good day. And some people, maybe some new construction, or maybe you've had to do some digging in your yard. You may, want to take a chance and maybe do some, small seeding. But the thing about it is, you're going to have to keep it watered.
That's right.
And things like that. So we're not saying you can't plant grass seed right now. You can, but you got your work cut out to keep it watered.
And watered, and then you're also dealing with warm soil temperatures, with warm air temperatures. Grass likes to grow in warm soil temperatures, but the environment needs to be cool, as it is in the fall. So it's really tough and stressful on grass plants if you start cool season grasses from seed right now. So remember that. And I had a thought that was running through my head. Well, it just snuck away, I guess. The plant disease triangle. I guess one thing that will bring this, make a better understanding of plant diseases is that you have to have three things in order for a disease to occur. You have to have the right fungus, you have to have the right plant, and you have to have the right environment. So in the absence of any one of those things, you will not get disease. It's called the plant disease triangle, or some people refer to it as the three-legged stool. You know what happens if you eliminate one leg of the three-legged stool? Mm-hmm. So the right plant, the right fungus, and the right environment. All those three conditions have to be satisfied in order to get a plant disease. And so that's why we want to try to minimize those legs of the stool so that we don't get the disease. One quick thing, if you have vinyl siding on your house and you get up one day and you see these pimples on your siding, this is not spray paint, or this is not what's the vandalism from the local kid or anything. This is actually the artillery fungus, and it's aptly named because they get their start in the mulch, and they forcibly eject the spores up to 25 feet away, and they cause these spots on the siding, and people are wondering what it is. They're very difficult to remove. This particular type fungus likes to live in wood mulch. So if you have a mulch in your flower bed that is wood, this is what the artillery fungus likes. So you might want to substitute maybe pine bark nuggets or pine needles. You won't have the problems with the artillery fungus. The other one that is present on a lot of different types of mulch is what we call the dog vomit fungus.
Right here at lunchtime.
Yeah. And you can see what it looks like. This is very harmless to plants. It looks unsightly, but it doesn't really cause any problems. And a lot of times, as the spores build up in the structure, you can break it open, as you see here, and you can see the release of thousands of spores. You probably want to take a shovel and get rid of it and dispose of it properly, and don't step on it, because you can eject the spores. And so just take a shovel and get rid of the affected areas of your mulch, and that's the best thing to do.
Well, some very good advice right there, and I appreciate you waiting until just before lunch to talk about the dog vomit fungus. But we appreciate you all tuning in, and again, would like to pass along to you that we will be on the radio next Friday for the Gardeners Corner program, but we will not be on TV. We're going to be up in Orange County at the Central Carolina Holstein Barn. The Central Carolina District Junior Dairy Show is going on up there next Friday. That will be the 17th, and so I'm going to be up there doing a remote, and Carlos is going to come up, and we're going to do the Gardeners Corner program from up there, and looking forward to that.
You'll have a lot of fun.
Absolutely, we sure will. So would like for you to come up to the dairy show if you can. We'd love to see you up there. It's at the Central Carolina Holstein Barn on Orange Grove Road in Hillsboro. Not really an address for the Central Carolina Holstein Barn, but if you find the Orange Grove Fire Department right there on Orange Grove Road, the Central Carolina Holstein Barn is right beside of the fire department. So if you can, come on up and be with us next week. Thanks goes out to T.G. Brooks Company and South Boston Memorials, our sponsors. If you ever do business with them, thank them for their support of the Gardeners Corner program. And a big old thanks to Mr. Carl Cantalupi.
As always, thank you, Rob.
Of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension
Thanks
Service.
to the folks that have called in.
With that, we'll bid you a good day and want to wish you and yours a happy and safe weekend. And, you know, tomorrow is graduation for Person High School. The best of luck to all of the graduates.
That's right.
And I know that the kids are glad to be out for the summer break.
Mm-hmm.
But God bless and have a wonderful and safe day and a good weekend to you.